Does anyone think Bo and the Broncos can win in a shootout?
Absolutely, unequivocally not. Once it's happened, the Packer game. That's it. In his career, how many wins does Bo Nix have against playoff teams when his defense allows more than 17?
Bling!
Yeah.
0?
No, I just said once it happened. Just the one.
It's okay.
The
Packer one?
The Packer one.
This is in his
in his 2 years when playoff teams scored more than 17 points. This is not how the Bo Nix late game magic hasn't been the Trevor Josh fourth quarter from this past weekend where they went score, score, score. It has been the defense keeps the other team under wraps, keeps them within reaching distance, and then Bo plays well down the stretch. And to his credit, that's what he does. But we're not seeing these high shootouts. And so, again, the Packer game, it happened, but that's the only instance in his whole career. And of all the game scripts that I think Sean Payton is hoping for, shootout is his nut low option, the worst possible case for him. So, no, I don't think they can win a shootout.
I don't think they would win a shootout. Certainly that's not what you want if you're Sean Payton, but I think they can. Like, I won't go as far as you that there's no chance they could win the shootout. You mentioned the Packer game. Well, that's evidence. I mean, because Nick's really, what he threw for over 300 yards, I think, in that game. They had a shootout with Daniel Jones. Now, it was 29-28. Indianapolis ended up winning. Remember when the field goal kicker for the Colts missed it? Then there was a penalty, and he made it. That was a close game that Denver could have won. And Bo Nix played well, threw for 3 touchdowns. They had a shootout with Dak. Now, I get it. That defense was terrible. But still, he threw 4 touchdowns. He won a shootout against Dak Prescott. And so I do think it's possible.
Precisely. That contest was in no conceivable manner a high-scoring duel featuring Dak Prescott. Allow me to be unequivocally clear. The Denver Broncos comprehensively dominated them, with Dallas accruing some meaningless production during the game's final moments. That was a decisive victory. Is it possible for us to actually view the games? Can we please watch these matchups? Obviously, the likelihood is low. That specific scenario is not the objective if you represent the Broncos, and I sincerely doubt their defensive unit will permit such a point total again. However, I maintain the belief that Bo Nix could potentially prevail in an offensive shootout, because he has demonstrated his competitive mettle and capability as a performer. I have a statistical graphic here for reference. This depicts his performance when opposing teams score 25 or more points. Examine his metrics. 13 touchdowns against 4 interceptions across 5 contests, averaging 293 yards per game. Washington, that's a deficient squad. Well, one of those opponents is Green Bay. But may I interject? Some of those instances resulted in losses, however. I believe one opponent was Jacksonville. Thus, these outcomes are not exclusively victories, but it illustrates that against Washington, they were defeated. Though he passed for substantial yardage, they ultimately beat the Commanders. They fell 27-26 in overtime, correct? They secured a 27-26 victory because the pivotal 2-point conversion attempt was deflected. Therefore, I simply believe he possesses the capacity. I would not, under any circumstances, select him over Josh Allen in a scoring frenzy, but I also do not consider it a scenario with absolutely zero probability, as you implied. No, there is no probability. I align with Nick. I concur. There exists no chance. If you are seated in the stadium, having supported the Broncos, observed Bo Nix, and championed Bo Nix, certainly. Yes, he achieves results. You remain cognizant that he cannot emerge victorious in a shootout. That is not their preferred mode of engagement, nor is it a style he can authentically execute. I would contend that neither of the moments you referenced qualified as shootouts that you all have misinterpreted. Green Bay. The score was 16-14 at halftime against Green Bay. They conceded merely 10 points during the second half. That does not constitute a shootout. That is not a continual exchange of scores. He performed adequately, and the lead shifted momentarily. But a genuine shootout is exemplified by what we witnessed between Josh Allen and Baltimore. That is a shootout. We commonly observe it with Detroit and the Rams. That exemplified a shootout, the highest scoring games. You must persistently score because your defense is permitting points, which to your point is something they do not allow opponents to do consistently. They have not exhibited that vulnerability, correct? A shootout, in the conventional sense, is what we observed with the 49ers and the Chicago Bears. That was likely the most recent illustration of relentless back-and-forth action. Merely because a game features high aggregate scoring, or even a substantial comeback, does not define it. You could trail 42-0 and rally to win 45-42. That also does not genuinely qualify as a shootout. It is purely a sequential exchange. You score, I score, you score, I score. We witnessed this with the Packers and the Cowboys in that particular game as well. This is precisely why the Broncos-Cowboys game was so irritating, because that was not a shootout. One of the touchdowns wasn't even attributable to Dak. Dak performed poorly in that game? Absolutely not. However, what proves truly exasperating is the entire practice of manipulating statistics, though not necessarily this specific instance, but what Nick was presenting. So, during his rookie season last year, in games, including playoff contests, where opponents scored 16 or more points, since you prefer 17, but then we must exclude the Kansas City Chiefs game, where he performed exceptionally. Let's simply use 16 or more. A game he was positioned to win, by the way. He was not the liability. I also incorporated, and this includes playoff encounters, their game against the Buffalo Bills in the postseason. Furthermore, I included the Cincinnati Bengals game because that opponent was performing at an apex level. It was against Cincinnati and featured an insane back-and-forth dynamic, a contest where Bo Nix was outstanding against a team that Nick Wright himself stated would be dangerous if they reached the playoffs. He continually asserted, "I am not demoting them. I am not demoting them." He insisted, "No, this is a formidable team. This is a formidable team." However, they did not qualify for the playoffs. Thus, I refuse to engage in that deceptive game. We are not cooking the books. During that specific time frame, Bo Nix ranked within the top 10. He was a top 10 performer, a 67.1% completion rate, 1,196 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of 95.0. As a rookie. He also accumulated 238 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Thus, these figures represent all games against playoff caliber teams. I included weeks 3, 6, 9, and 10. We are not going to diminish what Bo Nix has accomplished simply due to personal aversion, solely because you harbor a dislike for him. We could analyze next season. We could evaluate this current season as well. Additionally, you claim it was exclusively against Green Bay in his career when opponents score over 17 points. Is the threshold not 17 or more? Because they defeated the Philadelphia Eagles but only scored 17 points. Consequently, I suppose that no longer qualifies as a victory or something. No, I incorporated that game as well. I included the game against the Kansas City Chiefs too. We will not feign as if that team is now suddenly irrelevant. We will not selectively omit that game without justification. In those specific games, and I reiterate, I selected all contests where opponents scored 17 or more against playoff teams. However, I appended the Colts game because, at that juncture, they were performing exceptionally, an elite top-tier team in the NFL. The fact that they subsequently unraveled due to Daniel Jones' injury and defensive attrition does not imply we now disregard that game. I am uncertain if that game even particularly benefits Bo Nix, as I believe he threw an interception, if not multiple turnovers. I cannot recall precisely. It was week 2, and I incorporated the Kansas City Chiefs game. The statistics appear reasonably favorable to me. A 63.7% completion rate, 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 97.4. And he rushed for 100 yards. Therefore, even these metrics, even if we prefer his precise version, essentially total yards around 2,711 touchdowns, 4 turnovers. That is actually not subpar. That is, in fact, reasonably commendable. The win-loss record is not solely his responsibility. We acknowledge that, correct? Would you contend the Broncos are optimally constructed to win a shootout? Negative. If you inquire of Sean Payton whether he desires to be in a shootout, the answer is assuredly negative. No team aspires to that scenario. That is not unique to Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. And yes, when confronting Josh Allen specifically, you absolutely do not want a shootout. I am in complete accord with that perspective. You unequivocally, positively do not wish to engage in a back-and-forth scoring affair with Josh Allen. You do not desire it against Mahomes. You do not want it against Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson. We are discussing elite quarterbacks capable of scoring at any moment, proficient in all facets. Thus, yes, you wish to avoid that situation entirely. That is self-evident. That is patently obvious. However, to pretend that Bo Nix and the Broncos are incapable of winning in that fashion is simply preposterous. If you wish to critique the Broncos by highlighting their receiving core, rushing attack, or defensive shortcomings, that is permissible. But to isolate Bo Nix as the rationale, as Nick even concentrated on his individual statistics, implying Bo Nix himself is inherently incapable, is misguided. He is ostensibly the sole quarterback in the NFL who cannot maintain pace, the only one. Baker Mayfield can accomplish it. Dak Prescott can accomplish it. Tua Tagovailoa can accomplish it. Enumerate all quarterbacks not explicitly like Mahomes or Allen, yet Bo Nix is uniquely incapable. He is the solitary exception. He cannot possibly do it. What? What precisely are you articulating at this moment? Genuinely, what is the basis of your argument? Incidentally, I conducted the identical analysis for Caleb Williams, and he ranked as the 31st quarterback under those parameters. 66.1% completion rate, 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a 57.7% completion percentage, and an 84.4 passer rating. A significant portion of that is inflated from the 49ers game. Would commentators assert Caleb Williams cannot triumph in a shootout? I highly doubt it. So, what exactly is the discourse here? Those are simply my reflections. I would immensely appreciate hearing your perspectives. What are your collective thoughts regarding this perpetual skepticism and animosity directed towards Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. I read every single comment. Whether you concur with me or dissent, let's engage in some dialogue. Let's have some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's simply enjoy the discourse. And please consider subscribing. We are cultivating an incredible community here and would absolutely cherish your participation. I aspire to build something we all authentically feel connected to, something we are genuinely enthusiastic about joining. I believe we are making substantial progress toward that objective. Please also remember to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely assists with visibility and the platform's algorithm. Thank you very much.